Hello again, Jed Irvin here. This video starts a series about expectation management. Expectation management is one of the key skills that can make your grad student journey less stressful and probably faster. In episode 4 of my podcast called The Expectation Dashboard, I covered this in great detail. But I'm going to summarize the key points from that here in this video, and then we'll take a tour through the dashboard in the next videos. So we need to dive into the human experience here for a little bit. In any collaboration, the people arrive with certain personality traits and certain assumptions that life has built into them. Now, it's most likely that there are some of those personality traits and assumptions that aren't perfectly lined up for the two collaborators, for example, you and your advisor. To throw a technical term at this, we could say that the two of you are likely not perfectly calibrated for smooth collaboration. In other words, you may have different expectations about how things will play out. So what I did was I created a tool I call the Expectation Dashboard, and it's basically a list of questions, a list of small conversations that serve the purpose of getting both you and your advisor in sync about expectations, about what's going to happen. The way this list was created was that I collected all the different issues that I'd seen happen or talked about happening when I coached students, everything that kind of got in the way between a student and their advisor, I cast into this tool as a question. And the problem came up because the conversation around that question never happened. So for a visual, in the podcast, I painted this picture. Imagine that you and your advisor are co-piloting a spaceship, and each of you is sitting there on the bridge in your seat, and before each of you is a whole array of knobs to turn to control things about the ship. Let's say one of the knobs maps to the question, can the student drop by the advisor's office anytime to ask a question? Now you have one of those knobs, and the advisor has one of those knobs. And if you set them to the same value, yes, yes, or no, no, then you're in sync. But if they're set differently, you have different expectations about that. And the more knobs you have that are out of sync, the more friction is going to be caused by these missing assumptions, because there's going to be irritation. Why did they show up at my office? Why would they expect me to be available? Or why didn't they come to my office? That would have been so much simpler. So the key is you want to start out, ideally, on your grad student journey being as in sync as possible about expectations. So after compiling all of those questions, I counted them up, and there were 60. Now, ideally, you will have a conversation around each of these questions with your advisor. Probably they don't all have to happen at once. Probably most of them, the conversation is only going to last 30 seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. So it's not really that much to talk about, but it's important to touch on each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go through all 60 in these next videos, but I'm going to go through each category of question. I've broken them up into categories, and I'm going to pick one question in that category and talk to you about it in this video. And if anything comes up that I want to add about it, I'll do that. But you'll get a sense of the nature of the questions that we're talking about here. So this expectation dashboard document, you should be able to find this document in the bundle where you've found this video. Just look for a file called Expectation Dashboard. So another thing I want to bring up, if you read through these questions and you think to yourself, I can't imagine myself asking that question. That feels very awkward and strange. Then what you can do is just bring the print out of this document and say, yeah, I found this resource online. Jed had this list of questions that he said if I went through them, things would go more smoothly. So I'm hoping we can go over some of these questions. And here's the question that Jed said I should ask. The important part is for you to get the answer to the question, so we'll start in the next video.